Hey folks, it's Mr. Flower here, hope you're well. Out and about today on another bike review, and this is the first time I've ridden the brand new for 2021 Yamaha Tracer 9 GT, as it's now called. The original MT-09 Tracer, as it was called back then, came out in 2015. Well, the bike has been upgraded several times since then, and this is the latest brand new version of the bike. So stick around and stay tuned if you're interested in this machine. I'll tell you what I think of it. Oh, what a glorious day to be out on the motorcycle. I'm recording this in June, and summer has happened at last here in the UK. I'm so glad to say it's been a long time coming, and it's an absolute pleasure to be riding a Yamaha as well. So don't often get to ride these on the channel, so really chuffed to be riding this. So thank you so much to Yamaha UK for making this bike available to me. It's only just been launched, and yeah, it's the sort of bike that appeals to me, so really happy to be having a go. Alright, initial thoughts then. As soon as you jump on the bike, it's all about riding position and comfort, isn't it? Well, riding position, absolutely beautiful on here. I'm sat upright, very, very comfortable position. My legs are in a slightly acute position, but not particularly. But my back is bolt upright. Very, very comfortable place to be. Hands are nice and wide on these bars. No problem at all there. A couple of things I would say though. First off, the seat seems pretty hard. It's sculpted quite nicely on the back side. It's not uncomfortable by any means, but it does seem quite hard as standard, so I'm not sure how that would fare over a longer ride. And the other thing is, there's a lot of wind buffet off this screen. It's quite a big screen on here, but it's almost as if it hasn't got a screen at all. I don't know if it's down to the shape of the screen or because there's lots of bits of the bike protruding or what have you, but generally speaking, yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of turbulence off the screen. I'm relatively short, and I've got this in its uppermost position. Having said that, as I've speeded up a bit down here, it's got a little bit smoother, so we'll see how that goes. I've only been on the bike about 5 minutes, and I'm already at my first white van. Look at that, and my traffic jam. That's riding in the southeast for you. Oh well, gives me a chance to ride the bike a bit slower and to try this quick shifter out. The GT comes with a quick shifter, and I have to say it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I'm only riding slowly here, what, 25 miles an hour, and up and down the box the quick shifter works absolutely beautifully. Right, where are all these vehicles going? Are they all going the same way? I'll make a late decision about where I'm going to go based on where these are all going. No, they're all going that way. Alright, I shall take a right then. The clutch on the bike, nice and light feel to it, but a very wide biting point, if that makes sense. So I'm taking me a little bit of getting used to when I'm moving off from first gear, but after that you never have to use it again because that quick shifter is so good. The engine of course has the 900-ish cc triple engine from the MT-09, and what a great engine it is too. I love triple engines. Best of both worlds, bit of smoothness like you get on a 4-cylinder bike, but the early grunt of a twin engine, and of course, or a twin cylinder engine I should say, and of course you get that great triple noise as well. Yeah, seems a really nice unit. Right, let's go up here. I'm going to attempt to do my little that little bit of road again, hopefully this time without the traffic. Really bumpy up here, so this is a good test to see what the suspension's like. This is the bumpiest bit of road I know, and I'll tell you what, it feels really smooth up here, almost as smooth as my Goldwing coming up here. This version, the GT, has the fancy semi-active suspension, and it works really nicely. I've just got this set up as it came from Yamaha, so out of the factory as it were, and yeah, it feels lovely and smooth. The suspension is great on here. The bike itself seems the perfect size for me. I'm 5'8", about 70 kilograms. I'm a sort of a smallish fella, I suppose, medium sized to small, and it feels the perfect size for me. It's not so big that it's unwieldy like some bikes are, and it feels nice and light and flickable when you're riding it. What I would say though is it actually feels quite wide, so your legs You know, my knees are quite wide apart here. I quite like that because it allows you to grip hold of the tank, gives you a good feeling of security on the bike. But conversely, also when you're moving the bike around on your driveway, if you're sat on the bike, your legs are splayed out quite wide. So even though I've got this seat on its lowest position, I'm sort of on my tippy toes. This fellow's waving me through. Thank you very much, sir. So I think if you're much shorter than me, you might find the bike a little bit tall, even though the headline numbers for the seat height are quite low. I think it's between 810 and 825 millimeters, the adjustment. I'll go through the specs in a minute when we do the walk around in the usual way. Right, I get another crack at this road now, just to see what the handling's like, and it's very light actually. Lovely handling. And nice and stable as well. You have to sort of initiate the corners. I wouldn't, if I said you had to muscle it around the corners, that'd be exaggerating. You don't, it's nice and light. But once it's set, it seems nice and planted. Rear brake seems to work quite well. The front's got a nice progressive feel actually on the brake as well. When I initially jumped on, I thought the front brake was a bit rubbish, but actually it's nice, it gives you good feedback. Right, there's a chance to do a cheeky overtake. Yeah, that engine's got a lovely note to it. Hopefully you can hear that through the microphone okay. Yeah, great engine on here. Something like 120 horsepower or 117. Again, I'll go through the details when I do the walk around, but perfectly adequate power for the road. You don't need any more for that than that. The bike itself comes in a couple of flavours. So there's the normal Tracer 9 if you like, and then there's this GT version. The standard bike I think is £10,197, which is blooming amazing value for a bike this well spec'd. Then for £2 extra you can get this GT, and this comes with some really nice bits and pieces for that. So first off, you get the side cases, which I'll show you in a minute. And the old Tracer, they were something like £2 on their own, or certainly over £1. You get the semi-active suspension, 6-axis IMU, lean angle sensitive traction control, and all that gubbins. So actually, if you can stretch to the GT, it's almost a no-brainer on this bike. It's great value at just over £12, being laden with that much tech, if tech is your thing. Nothing behind. Yeah, the gearbox on here, beautiful. For a sort of an adventure style bike, it really is quite sporty actually. This particular segment of the bike market is quite crowded with excellent bikes. Things like the BMW, what is it, the F900XR. I really liked that when I rode that last year. That was new last year. That looks cute, very similar in a lot of ways. And then my sort of favourite bike in this segment until now has been the Tiger 900 and 850, also an excellent bike. And this is definitely up there with them, if not surpassing in terms of its spec for the price. Yeah, if you're in the market for this sort of bike, you really are sport for choice at the moment. So good luck with choosing which one you want to go for. Definitely test ride them all if you can. Something that's a little bit different about the Tracer 9 is this dashboard on here, or instrument display, whatever you want to call it. In fact, I suppose instrument display is more accurate, because I believe the designers of Yamaha did this because they think it makes it look a bit like a fighter pilot's cockpit. I'm not so sure about that. When you look at this in its whole, if you ignore my GoPro there, the whole thing actually looks a bit like a comedy face looking at you, and once you see it with the two eyes and the nose and the mouth, it's kind of hard to unsee. So I'm kind of a little bit unsure about the split TFT. They're very, very clear, they work well, and it's easy to get between the various functions on there using this little rotating wheel on the right hand side. Just rotate that and then press it to select things. It's actually very easy to use. I hate joysticks for some reason for doing things like selection there. It's very hard to move joysticks when you're going on the bike, but that wheel works really well. Almost as good as the BMW whiz wheel that I'm always on about. I like the way the screen adjusts, by the way. Look, you can literally just grab it and move it. Yeah, it's weird, this screen seems to actually be more effective at high speeds. Strange. I know that Yamaha have put quite a lot of thought into the aerodynamics of this bike. Maybe that's part of it. It works more effectively when you're giving it the beans, but yeah, there's a bit more wind blast off there than you'd expect. Mirrors on the bike, nice and big, nice and steady, great view behind. I'm not looking at my shoulders or anything, which is always good. And I mentioned the tech on this bike, the fact that it's laden with it. It's, again, for the money, for 12 grand, this GT is incredible. It's got anti-wheelie control, it's got a special braking control, lean angle ABS, lean angle traction control, 10 level heated grips, LED lights all around, including the leaning lights that come on. It really is a well-spec'd bike for the money. Switch gear on the bike, typical Yamaha, proper buttons, which I like. A little bit complicated on the left hand side where you've got the cruise control and the various mode buttons and so on, but it's just a matter of getting used to it. It's not that bad, and I like the fact that you can actually feel it when you press it. It doesn't feel flimsy at all. One of the things I do like about the bike, when it was delivered to me this morning, as soon as it rolled off the back of the van, it's just the finish on the bike is beautiful. Yamaha's have a thing about their paint, I think. It's just deep and lustrous looking. It looks really nice in this grey and blue on the GT. Alrighty, I'm just coming into Wendover, one of my favourite little spots to do my walk around. I'll pull into the train station up here, I'll show you around the bike, and I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. Alrighty, here we are, a quite quiet looking Wendover train station, I'm pleased to say, because it means I can do a little check of what the turning circle's like. Now, somebody mentioned on a video the other day I should ride down the line and then do the turn, so let's go down the line on this parking spot, nothing around, and let's see what I can do in terms of turning circle. Okay, I'd be lying if I said it was feet down. It's not. There we go, look at that, exactly 2 parking spaces with the turning circle, which is quite tight actually for a bike of this type, so turning circle's good. Well, let's stick her over there by the hedge and I'll show you the bike, talk you through the spec in the usual way. Nice and easy to find neutral. Yeah, one thing I would say, I talked about the width of the bike being quite wide between your legs, and when you actually want to paddle the bike around, the foot pegs kind of get in the way of your ankles a bit. To me, they're just in the wrong spot. So even though I've got the seat on its lowest setting, as I say, I'm on the balls of my feet because I have to have my legs so wide spread out, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's turn the bike off. I'll get the other camera out, show you around the bike. Okay, here she is, and starting then with that engine, which for me is one of the highlights of this bike. Triple engines, I love them. This one, it has to be said, it's got a little engine cover which is an extra. This little bit here is not standard, so you can buy that as an extra if you want a bit of protection on your engine. It's an 890cc liquid cooled triple cylinder CP3 engine. It's from the MT-09, as I say, 119 PS Yamaha quote, which is about 117 brake horsepower at 10,000 RPM, 93 newton meters of torque at 7,000 RPM, so you don't have to rev the absolute pants off it to get the thing to go. It feels pretty lively, as you saw hopefully in those overtakes that I did. Let's have a look at the brakes on here. On here it's got a 298mm front discs, or 2 front discs I should say. The brakes themselves, here we go, they look like 2 or are they 4-pot calipers? I think they look like 4-pot calipers on there, and they are Nissin brakes actually, I believe. Although, or are they Yamaha? I don't know. Don't listen to me, what do I know? These wheels though are a bit special. These are what are called spin forged, and if you look at them closely, in fact it says they look spin forged, they look like they're machined. They've got some remnants of casting on the inside here, and then they're all machined, and basically it's a clever process that Yamaha have painted that makes the actual molecules in the paint line up, not in the paint, in the metal itself line up, and makes them much lighter and stronger for the amount of metal that you've got in them, so reducing gyroscopic forces. So it's not quite as good as a properly forged wheel, as it were, as in stamped out and forged, but getting there. So pretty clever wheels on here. Anyway, that sounded like I knew what I was talking about, but hopefully you get the gist. Suspension on here, as I say, this being the GT, it's got the clever KYB semi-active suspension. If I'll show you at the front here, you can actually see the adjusters somewhere. Can you see those down there? Adjusters down there for the adjusting the preload, etc., and then you can see the wire coming out that does the automatic or the semi-automatic stuff. And that works really, really well, as I said. Seat height on here, I mentioned 810mm to 825, so sort of medium seat height. As I say, I've actually got this on the low setting, although it looks quite high, doesn't it? Maybe I haven't quite adjusted that right. I'm finding it that I'm sort of on tiptoe at 5'8". Weight of this, 220 kilograms wet, which for a bike like this isn't too bad. I mean, it's not particularly heavy, not particularly light either, but not particularly heavy. I guess you know, without fuel you're looking at somewhere around about 200 kilograms. Tank capacity on here, 18 litres. Yamaha say 56 miles per gallon. I suppose you're going to be looking at sort of a 200 mile-ish range out of that, which is pretty good. Let's show you some of the other bits and bits. Let's show you the panniers, actually. People often ask about those. Let me just get the keys. Here we go, let me show you the panniers here. Funny looking things, has to be said, but they are quite capacious. In fact, I've already put, just to prove that you can, a helmet in here. If I can do this one-handed. They're a bit strange to use, but there we go. There we go, we can see we've got my RA helmet already tucked in there, just to prove that you can fit a helmet in these side cases, which, as I say, are a bit weird to use. I'll have to sort that one out in a minute before I get back on the bike. But yeah, useful in terms of storage. You can get obviously a helmet in the other side as well, so if you are prone to carrying helmets in panniers, who actually does that I don't know, but it seems to be a bit of a benchmark, doesn't it? Handsome looking thing. Another thing I've noticed that I don't quite like about it is these lights on the front. When you turn the bike on, you only get one of these lights on. I kind of know why they do that. It's the old, you know, you want to know you've got a motorbike approaching thing, but when you've got two lights on a bike, I like them both on, so that's just a little niggle for me, but nothing major. Electronics on this, as I've already mentioned, it's got loads of electronics. 6-axis IMU, 3-level lean angle sensitive traction control, slide control system, front wheel lift control, brake control system. It's got those twin 3.5-inch TFTs up front, slightly obscured by my GoPro on here. Jury's out on those. They're nice and clean, or nice and clear, but it does look a bit like a face, doesn't it, when you look down there with wearing some big sunglasses. It's got LED lights all around. It's got that quick shifter that I talked about, heated grips with 10 levels, and riding modes, what they call D modes. I've got this in the most aggressive mode at the moment, which seems excellent. Price for the GT, as I say, $12,199. Yeah, really nice. My first impressions are it's a pretty nice bike. Alrighty, let's jump on and ride some more, and I'll do that case up first. Okay, so excuse my Insta360 camera, which I've not used yet, but I will try and use that in a minute. Let's, this is very weird to do. I'm sure there's a technique to this, which I haven't quite got the knack of yet. There we go. Oh, that does want to... That's not going to come out. Excellent. Alright, back on the bike. Alrighty, feels quite nice and light to get off the side stand, which is a great thing. I think this would be a relatively easy bike to live with. It doesn't feel heavy at all to move around, which is great. Alrighty, let's get this show back on the road. For the first time ever, I've got my new Insta360 camera filming, which is just here out on this pole. I'm feeling a little bit self-conscious about it. If you see any pictures from it, that means it worked okay. If you don't, that means I've still got some work to do on the editing. Oh, what a beautiful day to be out on the bike. This summer has been a long time coming, and it's just so nice to jump on the bike wearing your light summer kit, not wearing, you know, your thermal underwear and goodness knows what. Is that too much information? But just enjoying the ride in a light jacket. Brilliant. So this particular bike, I mentioned I don't often review Yamahas on the channel. That's because up until now I've not really talked to Yamaha, but I'm absolutely thrilled to say they are talking to me now, and they've lent me this bike as my next long-termer. So I've got this for the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to ride it as much as I possibly can, get to know as much as I can about the bike, and bring you the lessons I've learned about it. So if you are interested in perhaps buying one of these, I'll give you some of the details that you only learn when you've ridden the bike for a few hundred miles and actually live with it for a while. It's all very well, isn't it, having a 1-hour test ride, but it's never enough to properly get to know a bike. So hopefully I can be some help to you if you're in the market for a bike like this. So huge thanks again to Yamaha UK for making the bike available to me. And by the time you get to see the next video on the bike, boy, it's a bit warm out here, I'll leave that open, hopefully you can hear me okay in the airflow. By the time I get to make that next video, I will have had a chance to ride this in town at night, maybe, perhaps in some inclement weather, and I can bring you how the bike performs in those situations. But on this first ride, this first impressions review, really not much to not like about the bike. I hate doing reviews where I'm only positive about machines. There are a few things about it already that I can see would be maybe a little bit annoying, but perhaps you get used to. So the width of the bike, the fact that, you know, when you're puddling it around, your legs are poking out quite wide. If you're a short person, that might become a bit tiresome. And the jury's out on this seat, whether it'd be too hard on a tour. I don't know. I need to ride it for an hour or more and just see how that goes. Out of interest, let's see what she's like standing up. Actually, standing up, quite nice. You can hello indeed, you can balance your legs against the tank, and that's where actually the fitting wide is quite nice, because you can get a good grip on it. So if you want to stand up and stretch your legs, which actually if you're on a tour is sometimes really nice to do, yeah, very nice in the standing up position. The engine on it sounds great, it goes lovely, the handling on it is lovely and light. Comfortable seating position. I think the windscreen maybe needs a little bit of work. Maybe get one of those deflectors like an MRA Vario screen or something would probably fix that. I'm sure there's an aftermarket fix for the screen. And with the pricing as it is, with just, I say just, I know it's a lot of money, but £2 extra gets you a lot of extra on this bike. So if you can stretch the GT, I'd definitely go for that. Anyway, that's it for the first ride on the bike. Hope you enjoyed that. As I say, if you're interested in the Tracer 9 GT, stick around and stay tuned to the channel. There'll be lots more to come. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss it. Alright, look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio.